So there are the things, there are the feelings related to body alignment, which I wanted to mention today, except from pain that caused by body misalignment. Okay, if your muscle fascia stretched to a certain level and already close to the pain threshold, if you do, and then if you reach to a certain level, if you kind of under some pressure, if you press your own muscle, if you feel pain, and then that means your body structure is not that, aligned. Apart from that, let's talk about the soreness from body alignment perspective. Okay, this is someone who's doing the foam rolling, and you always feel sore after like very large load of training session. So sore is a sign of your muscle accumulating pressure evenly, which is a good thing. But the thing is, on the contrary, is quite interesting. I don't believe in the DOMS, the soreness after the large load. That kind of sore that you cannot move. It's because your deep layer fascia and the shallow layer fascia is not aligned. So what's inside your body is relatively tight after probably 1 day or 2 days training, but the relatively shallower muscle or the fascia has already been, relaxed. So the different pressure among 2 layers is the thing caused the soreness, rather than you are going through the DOMS, which is, what was the word, acid, accumulating in your muscle. The acid will be, assimilated within just like a couple of hours. So that's only my point of view. Okay. And then the itchiness. Itchiness is the meaning of the body extremely tight. So apart from misalignment, so it's extremely tight, you scratch it, and then you feel itchy, right? That's why there are so many people, we cannot touch their ribs, the armpit. Once I touch it, they're gonna be up, right? Because it's really itchy. Why people feel itchy here? I don't feel itchy here because I pay attention to take care of the mobility of my ribs. But if you touch someone and they feel really itchy here, that's normally a sign of they have really tight ribs. Okay, and if you watch the movement pattern, if you watch the pattern of their breathing, they normally just get their belly swelling out and back, get their shoulder shrugging down. They are kind of losing the function of expanding their ribs from side to side. So if you see someone breathing like that, normally they have very itchy armpit. If you tap them, they're going to be like that. So the itchiness is a sign of your fascia, of your muscle already tight to a certain level. It's already at the limit of the pain threshold. And then if you stretch it, you'll feel the itchiness. That's why. And the numb. The numb is the worst case. When you already tight when you extremely tight, and then you actually gonna lose all of this feeling. And that time when you have no feeling is the worst. So I really want none of you going through the numb phase. And I want you to pay attention. Why I'm talking about this today? Because your body talks to you and you never pay attention, right? You don't know what the meaning of each feeling. It's okay. I'm teaching you, I'm sharing with you to let you know the feeling. And next time, if you're going through the soreness, if you have itching somewhere, you might be listen to your body and pay attention to it. And if you pay attention to it, you're going to find a way to solve it. So, in the BAT theory, we have 2 axes. The horizontal axis coming from the feet through the pelvic and the spine all the way to the head. And the horizontal axis is from the fingertips to the fingertips. So let's talk about the lower body pain from misalignment first. This is all the symptoms. Let's see what may happen to your lower body through the misalignment. First thing I want to say, naturally the structure of your foot arch, and naturally the shape of your foot is determined by the way you walk through the pelvis here, right? So the shape of your foot arch naturally decided by the movement, by the movement pattern of your pelvis moves. But unfortunately, for the most of the time, we are already misaligned. And then the shape of your feet beneath your knees are mainly decided by the shape of your foot arch. So the shape of your shin bone, of your tibia and fibula, this part was decided by the shape of foot arch. And what about your knee is decided by the shape of your pelvis. So if you are rotating, like everyone's hips is rotated, you know that. If you rotate, and then you will change the shape actually of your femur. So the force going down through the pelvic and the force going up from the foot arch, when they meet together and they are not aligned, that's the major problem causing your knee pain. Okay, so I've seen so many videos on internet, especially on Instagram. They're using the band to train their knees. I think that's like bullshit. Okay, see if you train the force in the middle. If you're not fixing the problem for pelvis and the foot arch, you're like adding pattern here. You will not solve your knee pain in the long term. You're getting worse and worse because you're adding layers of compensation. So if you ever facing the knee pain, which is not caused by like accident or you hit by somebody, you need to see whether your foot arch is standing up and high, whether your pelvis is rotated or back in the normal. And then you can examine these two parts and then you know what happened to your knees. And the problem will be solved automatically. This is the way to cure your lower body pain. And if you keep on training like Olympic weightlifting, many people may experiencing like groin pain, and the hip pain on the behind is the same thing. How do I say? How do I put it? Because your body is rotating. Well, the hip pain is relatively easy, okay? If you rotate something, there must be some part tight here and some part loose. When you experiencing like, I'm gonna step back, groin pain here, right? This side, you must be relatively loose on here. So this is like two sides of one problem. So if you are tight here, and you're only going to solve the problem here, but not stretch the whole system back to flat and then back to relative balanced structure, you will be never ever solve the problem. So the pain of your hip area, no matter it's a groin or from the back or the ischium pain, the hip bone pain, can actually, if they are from the misalignment, can all be solved by just putting your hips backward and get the alignment training everything like in the right direction, using them in the right function, and everything's gonna be solved. Since I'm rarely seeing anyone's pelvis is balanced or symmetry, so we always need to working on that. And for the upper body pain, it's no matter tennis elbow, look, everything. What I want to say, they are the only thing about all kinds of this pain can be concluded in one sentence, which is the relative position of your scapula, of your shoulder blades, and the ribs. I believe I've mentioned it before, right? So let's have a little bit review on that. If your scapula is being tilting upward and forward, and then the biceps side, the flexor side will be interfered and it will be stretched, and then the ulna will be pulling up because it's forward and everything, the shape is changing here, will be pulled up. So when this bone kind of sticking out, you're gonna experiencing actually the tennis elbow. Why? Because it's poking the muscle inside and you're gonna feel the pressure here. So tennis elbow is the, what we call that, the lateral epicondylitis, which means you're gonna feel the pain on the extensor side, on the outside of your arm. But that's not the problem. That's the symptom of the pain. What actually happening is the tightness of your biceps, and that's still not the cause of problem. The root of problem might be the scapula sliding forward, up and forward. So it causes the tightness of your biceps and it causes the restriction of your triceps. And on the contrary, when your scapula is sliding downwardness, you're gonna be feeling more likely like golfer's elbows. It is inside. It's gonna change the shape of your extensors, of your triceps, and you're gonna be feeling the bicep pain, or here, you're gonna be feeling the pain here. The change of the relative position between your scapula and your rib cage might be caused by two problems. First, the rotation coming from the lower body. Where is it? First, the rotation coming from the lower body. So if you are standing something like that, and then your pelvis rotated, and guess what happened? Your spine gonna be rotated, ribs gonna be rotated, and if the ribs rotate to one side, the scapula will be flipped around the ribs, right? So if you see somebody's scapula, one side is tipping forward, one side is tipping backward, that's normally caused by the rotation of your horizontal axis. But there is another way that if we are left-handed or right-handed, like I'm left-handed, okay, if you're right-handed, look, this is one structure. If you have a dominant hand, or if you do biceps way too much, everyday biceps curl, and for Olympic weightlifters, the first and second lift of the pull, this natural clean, we tend to put the bar with our flexors. And if we keep on using our flexors like that and not engaging our extensor weight too much, you'll have pronating hands. For me, my left side is dominant hands. So my left hand is more pronated than my right hand. So you can tell, you can by examining your hands. Okay, so in the normal position, here, your elbow and the wrist, naturally they're aligned, just in a line. But I am naturally left hand is more pronated in this position. So I have to train more external rotation on both sides, not just left side. I always share with you that you should train your body in one side. But look, this is just a line, right? I don't have to external rotate my hands there because my right side is relatively better. You can tell from your own body which side is better, which side is worse. We all have our better side and worse side, okay? So through the overuse of one side of your hand, one side of the arms, or the extensors or flexors of your arms, you may be putting your shoulder away, scapula away from the rib cages again. So that's another reason that causes the relative position change of scapula and rib cage. So the first one is your rib cage rotated itself, right? That's mainly from the lower body, from the horizontal axis. The other one is the rotational use, or the uneven use of upper body, which is going to pull the scapula away from your ribs. No, normally just these two reasons. I believe if you learn from me, you'll know much better than your physiotherapist for the most of the case. Okay, and mainly only these two problems gonna cause all the pain. All of this kind of pain. This kind of pain is like their symptoms. If you can, no matter what of this happens, like wrist pain, just like wrist pain is this because we have the wrist tunnel, there are nerves inside. If you change the relative position of your ulna and the radius, so it kind of squeezed here. If you change the position of your, what was that? A wrist bones, it's gonna be squeezed, and then you're gonna be feeling pain when you're pressing the bar, or when you clean the bar. So if you put them like without body alignment training, later I'm going to show you how to move your wrist. Okay, just like restore the space and then get them aligned back to the space where they should be, and then everything's going to be solved. That's it. Not this. So this is a Martin saying, not my style. Sometimes I just want to be lazy, right? The pain is the weakness leaving the body. That's so. Yes. Okay. Don't want to be impolite. That's the thing I don't understand, and I kept on hearing like coaches talk to their clients. They're just like, okay, if you're feeling pain, just rest a little bit and then come back again. You'll be fine. It's just a mental weakness. But I guess through today's sharing, through today's learning, you can understand pain is pain. Pain is a signal. Pain is a signal warning you something's wrong. You the better stop and check on yourself. What's happening? Okay. So apart from this, I think it's important. This is important. Where does the pain come from? Lower body, upper body, and the general rules of gaining a pain-free body is easy. Number one, you need to reverse the rotation. You are not finding the balance first. Okay, left, right. That's not important in the first stage. The most important part is if your left hip is rotating forward, you're going to rotate it backward. That's step number one. Okay, don't mix the step. Step number one, always bring the rotation back, and then left and right shift the balance. If you shift the balance and then you are not rotated, you are still in a rotated and misaligned position. So always reverse the rotation. I already told you how to check yourself. You've already trained with me. I would say toes forward, second toes forward. It is so important. You have to get your body back. Okay, you have to get your body back. You have to shift. You have to reverse the rotation. So that's why I always say toes forward. Make sure everything is symmetry, right? And then you set the balance. You shift the body weight left to right to find the thing in the middle, and then you're gonna have the right imaginary line of the line of gravity. And then you're gonna train the rest of my BAT training, no matter it's like arching tiger or the crane, whatever thing is based on the first and second step. If you don't do the first and second one, if you don't find the balance, and if you stretch, and you're gonna still be in the rotated way. That's kind of probably tips for you to gain the balance through training. Well, the treatment is another thing. Okay, and then you're gonna meet me in person, so probably gonna I can help you to solve your major problem is your tight SI joint, sacroiliac joint. So through the training, you begin a very strong core already. They're so aligned. I feel so proud of you. But what's left behind for me, the biggest concern is that SI joint is not functioning. If your SI joint is not functioning, and then guess what? Your lumbar spine going to compensate on it. You get very mobile, and guess what? Your T-spine going to be stiff since you don't have the stability of the lumbar spine. Everything's the chain. And then you're gonna probably have relatively short shoulders. That's what's after. So for you, the next step is definitely hip mobility. So let's make a conclusion. What was that? Not every pain you've been through, especially the pain that only happens when you are training, the inflammation or any kind of arthritis, is mostly the consequence of the misalignment body and if you had a misalignment body, that's gonna be put your fascia and muscle in overstretched way, and it number one gonna restrict your mobility, and number two put you in a really vulnerable position. So if you're misaligned and you do a relatively large range of motion movement, it's easy to get yourself injured. First, you're gonna go through the pain, and second, you may just cross that pain threshold and hurt yourself. That's it. So number one, the solution to have pain-free mobile body is getting the vertical and horizontal axis back into a relatively balanced structure. it can only be told as a relative balance structure. No one can be complete symmetry. Okay, second one, never ever just treating the pain with a foam roller. I feel tight here, I roll here. That's never been the solution. It only works for once if you use the banded stretch, or if you use the foam roller to roll your muscle just like one time. It only works for one time, and it will never help you to get the real long-term solution. So you better just not do that. And if you want to fix your problem, you need to build up your own understanding about what's happening. Don't rely on the doctor's advice, because sometimes the doctor, they don't train, and your physiotherapist knowledge is like restricted. So always look at the big structure. Remember this, you have to even the structure to a relative balanced structure, and everything just going to be automatically get back, and the pain going to be disappeared itself. So that's probably what I want to say today. Thank you, everyone. And then let's call it a day. I'll see you. Hey, what? See you next time. See ya.